record on, well, I'm just starting it.
Yeah, I think we're recording.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I see a little red.
But so we are recording right now. So what I want to say is, first of all, I have been so excited this morning about interviewing Selma that I probably started recording a little bit too soon. But that's all right, because we are here today, and I met Selma through Facebook, and I think it was a very serendipitous, and it was just meant that we meet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let her share what she's all about. She has an incredible YouTube channel. She's a beautiful, beautiful soul, but I want you, because I'm very honest. So when I maybe make an error when we're talking, it doesn't really matter.
No, it really doesn't. Yeah.
No, it doesn't, because it's like, it's about authenticity. It's about, yes, I was excited. You're on the other side of the world, and we can share. So Selma, I'm going to give it over to you. There's a couple of things I want, just a bit about your background. Make sure to share what your YouTube is and your Facebook, but we'll get the hashtags and everything after. But I want to know about you and how you got to be who you are, because you have a very diverse background, and how you share and what you know. And even we connected because you have your story, I have mine. I instantly felt I knew you, and I have known you from another lifetime. Not on the planet, though.
No, not here. But that's what's so interesting. Well, before anything else, I seriously need to thank you, Sandra, because you know how difficult it is for people like us to have a platform, right? We have to make our own platforms, as you know that,
right.
Which is a part of the work. It's fine. It's fun. It's a part of the work.
Right.
So yes, the name is Selma. And how could I describe my entire life? I feel like it's been a punch in the gut, but people listening to us will probably feel the same about their lives, especially if you're an empath. If you've always felt a little different from everybody around you, it's like everything feels a bit like a punch in the gut, especially when life gets real and you start understanding patterns within the context of your own family, and even your own family seems alien to you. So that's been pretty much me, with exception to my father, whom I'm a very close soulmate to. Like, we're soulmates, with exception to my father. I remember looking at my mom and thinking, who are you, for instance? And this is my mother. So,
right.
So there's a lot to that as well. That's a whole other story. So as a child, I was always very detached. And my poor mom, being Cancerian, to her, it was very hard, because she'd find me cold with my Aquarian South Node, right? She'd find me cold, and she was desperately in need of a friend, and she was trying to get a friend in her children. My sister kind of fulfilled that role, but she was especially hurt with me. And I have this thing with mom where I feel like till this very day she's hurt with me. We have a situation like that because I've always seemed distant and cold and aloof to her. And because I was very detached, which has been the challenge of my life, is to become more present, more grounded, and to actually be here. A lot of impacts will connect to this. For instance, my entire teenage days were like,
right.
I was there and I wasn't, right? And to this very day, the thing that happens to me the most is people asking me, do you remember this person? Or do you remember this guy or this woman or this situation? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't. So can you imagine telling that to a cancer mother with highly emotional? My mother has always been, do you remember when this happened to me, Selma? And you're like, if I tell her that I don't, I'm toast. Right. So I'm not going to say anything, and I'll be toast anyway.
Right.
So that's been my entire life. And I'm mentioning my mom because I feel like a lot of it, my history with my mother is the history with the planet. And it makes every single sense because mothers, they are basically the physical expression of Gaia, of the planet, right? I have this memory of seeing my mother giving birth to me at one point, and being one with the planet in all her pain and desperation as she was doing it. It's something very magical that happens with women when women are giving birth. They enter direct connection with Gaia, and it's like Gaia is birthing us through our mothers. It's when I had that vision, that was quite incredible. So what did I do with my life? I studied humanities, and I never understood why, because I'd always seen myself as a scientist. I've always felt myself being pulled towards a direction, being pulled by spirit or something that was stronger than I was. I've always felt like I wasn't in control, because if I had it my way, I would be an astrophysicist. But for some reason, I would make choices which would go against that. And this is spirit also on the other side. So I've always felt a huge degree of frustration towards it. When I started having experiences with with very intense, highly intense lucid dreaming and astral traveling, which I started having without the use of drugs. I always have to say this as a disclosure: I don't do drugs. I might have smoked like twice. And when I started having these experiences, I've never even smoked, nothing. I've always been quite boring like that, very much the straight-laced Virgo. And when I started having these experiences, well, you know how Virgos are. I was like, well, this is real. I didn't doubt it. I didn't doubt my sanity. A lot of people doubt their sanity, right?
Right.
I didn't doubt it, but I knew that I had to explain it through science. Finished. That's it. There can't be any other explanation for this. Let me see what kind of science explains my experiences. And I started having these experiences after a bit of a traumatic emotional event that I had in Hong Kong a few years ago. Which was related to this karma that this soul that I just met with which I had a lot of karma. So this was an individual who had been abusive to me in a previous lifetime and whom I had killed in a previous lifetime. So that's the epitome of karma.
Exactly.
That's like, it can't get any more dramatic than that, than for you to kill someone you love because they were abusive to you.
Right.
This was like, and this was a lifetime where I was a woman of the forest, healer, where I was the person that I am in these other realms as well, very connected to Gaia. And the only dark cloud in my life was this other human being with whom I could not interact or get through because he was sick. And again, it's like my relationship with human beings. I'm trying to heal them. I'm trying to do good for them. I'm trying to tell them. I remember trying to tell them, why are you so depressed? Look, we're leaving the forest. It's so beautiful. I don't understand where your depression comes from. His depression came from the fact that it came from karma, from heavy patriarchal and matriarchal wound, and from the fact that he wanted to be out there in the world, living in cities and being rich and being tied down to all those 3D things. Whereas I was just a magical fairy from the forest, and I was very happy with that, right?
Right.
So this individual is abusive. And one fine day, I get an out-of-body experience where I get out of my body, and when I come back to my body, is dead. So then I understood what happens with a lot of crime situations as well. When people say, I don't know, I know that I've killed the person, but I don't remember. That's true. That's true. That happens to people. I don't know what happens, but I feel like the soul literally checks out and
Right.
something else comes in. And this is what I'm trying to say. When people are in really dark situations, entities, they do latch on and they come in. And if you, especially if your soul leaves your body, something else is always ready there to come in. This is the thing. And that's what happened. That situation was kind of repeating itself in this lifetime, where this individual was abusive. But at one point, because I started answering back to the abuse, this individual became really scared of me. And I was like, why is he so scared of me? It's like, I don't know, he's scared of me to the point where sometimes it feels like he's afraid. He's scared that I will kill him or something, that I'll snap and kill. So that was the other lifetime. So after removing myself from the situation, this person and I, we just removed ourselves from the situation. That's when the astral traveling started for me. And I feel like it was my guides telling me, this is it, Selma. This was the situation that was going to completely decalcify your pineal gland. And that's what happened. I woke up, and it was also the fact that this individual was my connection to the forest. Again, I had to leave the astral and ground. I had to ground into Gaia and remember this, my connection to the forest, in order to have my pineal decalcified. I literally feel like the experience completely altered my chemistry, and that decalcified my pineal gland. And that's when I started having the experiences. And it was like, whoosh. This was in 2012, by the way.
Perfect.
Right?
Exactly.
So then that's when I started reading about it. And I started reading Barbara Hand Clow, The Alchemy of the 12 Dimensions. That's when I started reading on it, because again, I had to make sense of it. My Aquarian side was like, there has to be science to this, okay? But there isn't yet. And quantum physics is starting. Quantum physics is that Aquarian science, the science of the spiritual, the science of the sacred.
Right.
And it's starting. But at the time, there wasn't much other than string theory and M theory, which I became obsessed over for a while, which is the theory, quantum physics theory that explains, it's the theory for the multiverse theory. The
right.
fact that the multiverse, right? Many universes. That was the closest thing that could explain it and validate my experiences. Because Sandra and everybody, I think we've all been having these experiences of dreaming that we are someone else, somewhere else, doing something else.
Right.
But when you start having it to the lucid degree to which I was having them back then, and I've had them like for 2 years on a row, like lucidly, ridiculous, to a degree where I started doubting our reality here.
Right.
Right. So that is the awakening. That is what people call the awakening, when you realize that, yeah, this is not real. This is not what is real, is where we come from. Which we call the astral, which for people like Joseph Swedenborg, who was this scientist turned spiritualist, Swedish scientist turned spiritualist in the 19th century, in the 18th century, who was obviously rejected by society after he did, but he could care less because he was rich. he had money, so he didn't care. He wouldn't threaten his survival to come out, so he did. You would call it the spirit world, because he had been brought up Christian, right? And so this is the other thing. We use the language that we have wherever we are within the timeline of human evolution. So in the 18th century, the language was the language of religion. So he called it the spirit world when he started having these experiences, even though his experiences were way more intense than mine will ever be. He had out-of-body experiences constantly. He would walk through the streets of Stockholm, and then all of a sudden you would end up somewhere else, and you wouldn't know how that happened.
Right.
Until he realized that basically he would leave his body, go to the astral, and one of his guides would come into his body and would allow the body to continue walking while he was out there in the astral having all these experiences. So that is something I have. I haven't reached that degree, and I don't think I want to.
No.
That's kind of dangerous. So I started reading all these things so I could make sense of my experiences, and understood that indeed people who say that this reality, this is just the interface, they are speaking truth. This is just the interface. This is not real. But then I thought, what am I going to do? A part of me feels like I should tell this to people, but another part of me tells me that a lot of people aren't ready.
No.
So maybe I need to find my tribe, the people who have experiences just like me. And eventually I went to this astrologist who looked at my chart, and he told me, Selma, you are supposed to be doing this. And everything, this what? And he was like, this. And I'm like, well, astrology, that's far too complicated for me now. I just finished this master's in archaeology. Are you kidding me? Don't revolutionize my life, okay? I've graduated in this, and this is what I have to do now. Don't make it more complicated. He said that though, and I understood, no, it's not exactly astrology, but I know what he means. Because I've been working with tarot cards since I was 19.
Yeah.
But my mom didn't like them, and everybody has this experience. Mom didn't like it, or dad didn't like it, so I put them aside. But I've always had them in secret. And so it's so weird that this still happens in the 20th and 21st century. When I look back at it, I'm going to be 40 next year, and yet these still happen to people in my generation. Their parents don't like the tarot. It's not tarot, it's cards. People like so. I've always done it in secret, and recently in the last couple of years I just decided to come out, but it's been very hard for me because I had that Aquarian scientific side of also of being afraid of what people are going. All my Facebook friends, they're all people from the world of archaeology and history, so I was completely stuck in that of I should have become an astrophysicist instead. All of a sudden the world is asking me to be a witch. This doesn't make any sense.
True. That's true.
This doesn't make any sense. I have this scientific streak, but at the same time, whenever I deal the cards, I'm in my element. It's me. Yes, it makes sense. Because in this life, I am being asked, like a lot of us, to, yes, I have these future lifetimes, all these future lifetimes where I'm a scientist and whatnot. They are there and they're all parallel, as you know. But in this lifetime, I was being asked to come into my heart space, get closer to the Leo, right? And that's why I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated. My sister's a Leo. I'm surrounded by them exactly because the universe wanted to pull me towards that energy. And that's why I'm fascinated by Leo women, or women who have Leo ascendants as well, because I know that it's whom I am supposed to also become more and more and more. It's, you know, in this lifetime, and I feel it. Everything around me, I feel like he's very, like, all of a sudden I don't just wear black all the time, even though I'm wearing black today.
Me too. But the interesting thing is I have a Leo rising.
Yes.
My nodes, the south node is the 5th house, which is the house of Leo, and the 11th house, which is the house of Aquarian.
Of course. So you do have that as well.
That's our connection.
Yes, that's our connection, definitely. And I also kind of recognized your face above
Right.
all also. And I do have a future lifetime here on planet Earth where it's, okay, this is going to sound really scary and really down the rabbit hole, but I have a lifetime here on planet Earth where I kind of look a little bit like you. So when I saw you, I was like, shoot. A little bit, and it's weird because we know that our physicality also responds to the person we are becoming.
Right.
Chinese Buddhism explains that, and I learned just a little bit of Chinese Buddhism while I was living in Hong Kong. Chinese Buddhism, I love it because it's so grounded in reality. It brings the Buddhist philosophy, which is all about the astral, into the 3D perfectly. Because you know how, I mean, the Chinese as an identity, as a people, they are 3D, very grounded people, making money, working, and making money. So this was the spirit of Hong Kong as well. And Chinese Buddhism caters to that, therefore. And Chinese Buddhism explains that everything that we do in our several lifetimes, what we do is expressed through our physicality.
Right.
Once you get into the details of it, it's really interesting. So the way you look like what you have done. You look like what you do. So in that sense, beauty does come from the inside. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. And it's funny because I was in the professional beauty industry, still am, for 50 some years. Okay. And it is, I mean, I judged hair shows, I competed, and I was a makeup artist and written in that field, but it ultimately is here. It's inside. And so the beauty radiates, okay? It just, this part of the aura, okay? And that's what I've always said, is I can see, and I've taught this in workshops, is there can be a woman that can have maybe a $5,000 suit on and she's walking down the mall and whatever. And somebody else comes and has blue jeans and a jacket on, and you look at them. It's the aura. That's the beauty. That's the energy. It's an energetic beauty. Okay. And I think what you're doing is, and with the tarot and with how you move around and the stuff you do and all your background, you know, it's just like, and I watched this morning where you were sharing about how to do the tarot, like you were giving points in that. And so I find you fascinating. And I think that we can really work together to share what we each have to the community. Okay.
Oh, definitely.
Because they think that, and that's another thing, is you need to be able to protect yourself, because you can have another entity. And I wanted you to say that even when you're doing readings, or like if somebody's out at the bar and that type of thing, and if they lose that kind of thing, those entities are waiting to jump in. And people have said to me, Selma, and you understand, I don't have a lot of people that understand, because I understand the evil at the evilest level. And then the light at the lightest level. And for me, Carl Jung said we have to go through our south node to get to the light. That's where our gold is. Okay. And so I think that's what fascinates me about you, is you have that whole understanding of it. Okay.
What fascinates me about you is that you do too. And that is such a rare thing to find.
Yeah.
You know how it is for one to feel alien in this planet, and for what it's worse than that is you want to help because we're empaths. You just wish you could help people stop suffering, and you know that what would help them would be to get the perspective, but to know the perspective on a heart level, not on a mind level, and you can't get it through to them, and it's frustrating. So when you're speaking to someone who can really get it on a heart, who knows it also, who also knows it on a heart level,
right.
It's just, it's beautiful. It's the best thing ever, because it's not about validation, because we don't need it. We know. It's just about being able just to have someone to whom we can share these things and talk about these things without having them gaze at us like, what is she talking about? Yeah. I have no idea.
Well, through this whole pandemic thing, there is one person, because I'm like you, I'm a reader and I search and I'm always looking, okay, is Christine Northrup. Okay, she is an author, a female author. And so I've been watching her. She's been a daily thing with this pandemic, okay, which is a whole other thing. Anyway, she said something the other day, because people will say to me, you're tough, you're real, you can be a little bit. I went, no, you don't understand. And she said it perfectly for me, Selma. She said this whole thing about love. She said this personal love where it's infatuation or obsession or sexual or whatever, okay? She said the divine love, she said, the divine love says, what is going on?
Yeah.
What's really going on? The divine love wants to help you see what's really going on, and then you can make the shift. And I always say my thing is, see a person for who they really are as opposed to who you want them to be. See a situation for what it really is as opposed to what you want it to be. So again, this whole thing about reality, listening to our intuition and taking, being more empowered, okay, rather than beholden, okay? And it's the pieces of the puzzle, and that's the connection with you. Like, you're real, we care, but it's like, if it's going to be, it's up to me. And that's the whole Buddhist philosophy, is just like, and I've been doing the gene keys now, and he says the same thing, is it's like this whole idea of feminine energy, of running around in the forest with this on, and I have this divine unconditional love, and it's whatever. It's like, I'm sorry, it's like, let's get real. We are third dimensional. Yes, we're shifting fifth, seventh, some ninth.
Exactly.
We still have to live here.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And the people around us whom we will love and get attached to, these are people who are more than just often very 3D, because they are where they should be, right? We come with this fifth dimensional vibration into this 3D place, and we expect people to be like that as well. We cannot. We're obviously going to get crushed in disappointment 1,000 times before we understand that this is where they are, and we are here with this vibration exactly so as to not, teach anyone anything, but just be. Just let him be while I am as well. We are while they are, because with our vibration, even without doing anything, we can help raise the vibration of the planet. We don't have to lecture anyone on astral traveling. Let them be and do their thing, and just you know, let our vibration rub in a little bit. They don't notice what we're doing, but every time we sit to meditate and to do pranayamas and harness healing energy into the world, we are doing it. They don't know, but we are doing it. And that's all that we have to do. Because that was going back to that frustration I expressed to you, right? Oh, I can't do anything for them. I can't help them. Every time I try to help them, they hurt me, and then I die. and then I have to rebuild myself and heal myself again. And that's when I understood and gathered that wisdom that you have and that people like you've been having for a while now, which is all you have to do is be.
Right, right. And being allows you to have the people come in that you have karma with, because that's the big thing right now. But rather than try and hold them or get mad because they're treating you bad, it's just like, oh, that's wonderful. Now I can really get the message. It's like, okay. And so now I can say, whoa, wow, I came in here to be with them. I had a past life. What was it? And can I thank them because they've just taught me a great lesson? So rather than go and do a PhD at a university, I just do my PhDs through the experience.
Exactly. The life, the 3D PhD. That
Right.
is what we're all here to get, to conquer that one so that we can then move on to the next one.
Right, and the whole idea about transformer, I wrote about that in my first book. Actually, it's really funny. And it's like, we can sit on a plane. I'm like you, I have a lot of moving, and it's like, oh my God, I just want to sit, but I have to be here. That's part of it. But the interesting thing is that we can actually sit on a plane with somebody beside us. And these people have got back to me after, because I've always got business cards, and we can help without saying a word.
Oh, true.
Without a, depending on where our energy is, because we are energetic beings. I think that's the biggest thing. People talk about it, but it's all still intellectual, and it's to bring it from the head to the heart, left, right brain, as I say, and masculine and feminine, and bring it together. So
Indeed.
this is awesome. And now you're off on another journey.
Yes, yeah. When it's all a part of the mission. All those journeys. It's all a part of the mission because some of us are also the wanderer, right? We have this energy, so we come into this place to wonder about the planet and leave a little bit of, you know, stardust here, a little bit of stardust there. And you don't want to, and you're tired and you're exhausted. I don't want to do this anymore. And you try to fight it for a while, and then you learn to accept it and to understand. If I meant to go to Qatar, in my case now, it's because there are people there whom I am supposed to touch and whom are supposed to touch me in some way. So it's a part of the mission. It's a part of the mission. And I'm actually in love with the idea now. I can't wait to go. Now I've changed. Instead of resisting the change, I've changed into accepting the mission, right? But it's also, Sandra, what we were saying about that mission of ours of just being and just rubbing off the energy to other people. It's also interesting. I was thinking that we recognize each other at a mile's distance. Even 3 weeks ago, I had this experience where I'd come from a bit of an unpleasant situation with someone who had been a bit unkind, and then I wasn't kind back. But I had to be, because it's what you said, like the fact that we are empaths and spiritualists doesn't mean that we have to, you know, take ill treatment.
No.
And just say, oh, just, you know, slap me on the other side, like, you know, Jesus did. That's not the vibe. That's not it.
Right.
And so I remember walking into this shop where I said, you know what, because I had this crappy situation, now I'm going to make myself happy, and I'm going to buy a candle. Just random. Right. And without realizing, I was doing the magic already of reverting the energy. This is what we do. So I got into this beautiful shop with candles and candlesticks and things. And I was like, you know what, instead of a candle, I actually want this candle holder. And the lady told, this Dutch lady was selling me the candle holder. She started writing something on a piece of paper. So she packages the candle holder for me, and she's writing something saying, she's like, what's your name? And I gave her my name, and she's like, Selma, may this candle holder bring much light, bring all the light into your life, something like that.
Right.
And I'm looking at her, how did she know that I needed it today? Right. And I felt this presence. She had this very serious demeanor, but she wrote that. And then I looked at her like, like, and I'm saying, thank you, dankjewel, thank you so much for this. And she's very serious the whole time. And she's just giving me just a serious look of recognition of, I know that you have just been through something and you needed this. It's like her soul was communicating to me in that way. But I didn't think that it was showing through my face. I was my smiley self, my usual smiley self, but she felt it on a soul level. So that woman was also an empath.
Sure. And you know, the interesting thing is part of my, because I've had so much work done with my past life for years. Okay. But I want to do a session with you in time. Okay?
Oh, yes, please.
The interesting thing is part of my thing, and that's being a writer and a speaker and a teacher and everything, is that when I look at my nodes and my eclipses, okay, and I'm going to be doing in about 6 months relationship karmic work for people, okay. But the interesting thing is, it's like, for me, it's always been energetic, okay. And so I've had to learn the words and communication. And one of mine comes from, because I had a photographic memory and then I lost it, and in high school, okay. And the interesting thing is, what I do remember is the Hanging Gardens of Mesopotamia and Babylon, okay. And it's funny because it was there in Babylon where they changed all of, when they built that thing to Babylon, it was, they all wanted to become God. Okay, it's becoming, it's connecting with. So then all of these different races came about. Okay, and so for me, it's like, and I'll have to say to people, just be with me to connect the dots. So I have to be really aware because it's energetic. And I think that's where you and I met. It was on an energetic plane halfway across the world. But that's what the Aquarian energy is. That's where we're moving. Very telepathic, a lot of natural healing. And so all of this craziness in the world, we have to say it's going to be the past, but what are we going to embrace? But we're being asked to clean up our own lives, Selma. It's a beautiful time. So the work that you're doing now is so powerful and in need. And I know where you're going. You're going to be teaching and you've got souls that you have to meet. On the other hand, the work that you're doing right now, like on your weekends and evenings, is going to really
Every day, yeah.
more. Okay.
We have to. And I understand why people like us end up teaching as well. It's not just the empath in us. It's also the fact it's again connected to our mission. Like you've taught for so many years, and it was connected to your mission. I'm downloading that you had to touch those people on an energy level. You had to leave a mark, and believe me that your students, you are that one teacher that they will never forget, because you do have that kind of a signature imprint, that energy imprint that is very fifth dimensional. So people won't forget about you. But this also ties into what you just, when you said the word aware, again, into that awareness that we need to have. That because some of us have a different kind of energy signature, we will attract good as much as we will attract bad.
Right.
I can't say this enough. And that's where it's the obligation, the duty of an empath to be aware of the place. Again, I can't say this enough, of the place where we are. This is a mission place. No one comes to planet Earth. An empath doesn't come to planet Earth to have a great time all the time. We are here on a very serious mission. And I love watching your videos because you explain so well where we have been and where we are supposed to be going towards now and where we are going towards now. And it's there I can use the word validation, because that's something that I'd always felt on a heart level. And when you bring your astrology into explaining that, into saying, yes, it is happening, Selma, and this is how, let me break it down for you. I'm like, that's the Aquarian side as well. That's the science that I've been looking for, right? I'm like, yes, it makes sense. Yes. That's everything I'd been feeling but couldn't express. And astrology just breaks it down.
Right, and it is, and then I look at what you're doing, and it's like, because I did tarot like 40 years ago, and that's your gift. And then you will take the astrology, and so together we can assist the individuals right now. Okay, and so what I want to say, I think we're going to close this off. I'm going to have Selma's YouTube her Facebook on the hashtags. Okay, we're going to get them, and they can contact you, and you do readings and sessions. And I did share this morning where you were showing with your notebook about reading with the different cards, and we've just started our connection, and we will always be connected. And once you get settled where you're going to the beautiful Portugal, I think in a few days, which is awesome. And enjoy the sun, and we will keep in touch. And then you're going to see Game Changer, and then you can interview me. And we have this, it's like this, we slide like this, Selma. This is what I feel when I think about you. It's this, okay?
Yeah, because I can't wait to have you on my channel as well. It's going to be awesome.
I know.
Just, like you said.
Okay, and so thank you, everyone. And now you know Selma. She's my new friend, okay? And I just love it. Okay, just hold on here.